Welcome to a very Iron Bowl-centric version of the SEC Recruiting Notebook. I'm Pete Scantlebury, SEC Country Recruiting Editor, here today with Chris Kirschner, our Alabama recruiting expert, and Benjamin Wolk, our Auburn recruiting expert. We're talking about quarterback recruits at Alabama and Auburn and the future of the position there. Auburn has a commitment from the #1 dual-threat quarterback in the 2019 class, Bo Nix. Alabama has a commitment from four-star Paul Tyson, the great-grandson of Bear Bryant, but they might not be done yet. And I want to start today by talking about Bo Nix, as he's the #1 dual-threat quarterback in this class, and you guys both have seen him a great deal. Obviously, he's a legacy. All these guys are legacies in some regard to their potential future school. Ben, was there any doubt he would commit to Auburn in the end?
I think that he's probably as close to a sure thing as you can get in recruiting, or at least for Auburn. He's a guy that, like you mentioned, he's a legacy. His dad was an Auburn legend in the mid-'90s. Patrick Nix is his high school football coach at Pinson Valley right now. He played the game a little bit. I mean, he visited schools throughout his sophomore and junior seasons. He visited Auburn a lot. I think that Auburn always felt like he was going to end up in Auburn's class, but to get him in the class in January rather than make him, wait it out or make Auburn wait it out throughout the season was very important. And to get him in the class, he's going to take on that vocal leadership type of role, try and be the guy that they build the class around. And so I think that they knew he was always going to land in the class. They're just happy that he did it, in January rather than wait it out throughout the spring.
Chris, with him being an in-state guy in Alabama, I mean, how much interest did Alabama show, or was it kind of they knew that investment probably wouldn't pay off and they didn't spend much time recruiting him?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely recruited him a bunch. Coach Brent Key was always hitting up Bo Nix, but like Ben said, it was probably going to be a very difficult challenge for Alabama to overcome with him being an Auburn legacy. They would have loved to have Bo Nix on board too, but Alabama does have Paul Tyson in the state and Taulia Tagovailoa.
I mean, one thing as it pertains to Nix and Alabama, I mean, when you looked at Bo release his top 3, Alabama wasn't a part of that, and even though Alabama, if you looked at the schools that were recruiting him and his interest level in schools, Alabama probably was up there. But when you're an Auburn guy and you're probably going to land at Auburn, I think leaving Alabama out of that top 3 is probably just the smart choice, not to get any of the fan base riled up or anything like that. And I think that's why you saw Clemson was in there, but also Ohio State, just because to have that Alabama factor in Bo Nix's recruitment, I think would have worried a lot of people.
And again, like we said, Bo Nix is the #1 dual-threat quarterback in the 2019 class. He's a 4-star recruit. He's in the top 75 nationally, according to 24/7 Sports. Ben, you've seen him a ton. You both have seen him a good amount. Break him down as a player. What kind of quarterback is Auburn getting in Bo Nix?
He's the dual-threat type, I would say, that is going to lean on his arm more than he's going to lean on his legs. But, I mean, at the Atlanta opening regional a couple weeks ago, he ran a 4.7. So, I mean, he can certainly move a little bit. And, he scored 40 touchdowns last season, and 36 of them were passing. So clearly that is his forte. So I think that if he fits into the dual threat role, it's his ability to escape throughout the pocket. It's not so much that he's just going to tuck it and run at 70 yards. But he's a guy that can certainly get out of the pocket, make some plays with his feet to help him throw the ball. I do think that he's up there among the best quarterbacks in this class. I mean, I think he's listed as the #3 overall quarterback, #1 dual threat guy. And in terms of what he's accomplished, I mean, as a junior at Pinson Valley, they went undefeated, won a state championship, one of the more iconic Alabama state quarterfinal games last year against Auburn running back Asa Martin in Austin High School. He threw for 7 touchdowns in that game, and then they sort of cruise controlled to the state championship from there. I think that he's up there among the best quarterbacks in the country. I think that it is slightly a down year at quarterback, which is maybe why you see him as the #1 dual threat guy, even though he's only ranked, just inside the top 75 overall.
I also think it says a lot about him that for the past 2 years, Nix has won the quarterback MVP at the Atlanta opening regional when there have been several top quarterbacks at that event too.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last year, obviously there was Emory Jones who ended up in Florida. This year, I think that more of his competition was actually the 2020 class with guys like Harrison Bailey, Aaron McLaughlin from the Metro Atlanta area that are younger guys. So I think he maybe had a little bit more of an advantage this year just being the older guy at the camp. But, to win it last year against a guy like Emory Jones who ended up at an SEC school, I mean, he clearly has proven through the camp circuit and through what he's done at Pinson Valley High School that he is among the best quarterbacks in the country. There's no doubt about it.
Ben, you kind of mentioned about this being a down year for national quarterback recruiting, and that's certainly true on a macro level. But on a micro level, Bo Nix is a hell of a quarterback. What more can he do to boost his ranking? I mean, what are the shortcomings that you think are holding him back in terms of national rankings?
I think when some people look at his rankings, I mean, truth be told, I think some of it is people are somewhat hesitant to rank a guy because of his dad. I mean, they understand that his dad was a really good SEC quarterback, went undefeated in 1993 for Auburn. And I think that there is sort of a hesitance to say, hey, this guy's the #1 quarterback in the country because, subconsciously you're thinking maybe I feel this way just because of who his dad was. I think part of it also is he's not the biggest frame. I mean, he's about 6'1", 185, 190. I mean, he could certainly add some weight. I think that his height probably is one of the bigger deficiencies. And I think that part of it too, I mean, look, he's the number 73 overall player in the country. I don't think that that would be a slight to anyone, really. I just think that when you look at last year's class and you've got Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, #1 and #2, you sit there and say, all right, the #1 dual threat quarterback in the country should be a 5-star, should be a top tier guy. But there may not be a 5-star quarterback in this class, but Bo Nix might be the best of the group.
Thanks, Chris and Ben, for joining me on the latest edition of the SEC Recruiting Notebook. Stay tuned for all our recruiting coverage on SECCountry.com.